Happy Monday. Adjustments.
Okay.
Here we go. Ordinances tonight. Appropriations needs passed, right? Correct? 51, 23. And then at the last meeting, we said for all this stormwater stuff, we just do the first reading tonight and then finish it off on the first November meeting, which is, can't remember what date it was.
13.
Yeah. So all those will run, we'll just do the first reading, and the 13th we'll finish it off. Does anybody have any comments about the stormwater, any feedback that anybody has gotten?
I've received 2 or 3 emails, and then just a handful of people personally have said something. I haven't had to talk to anyone that's been in favor. Most of them are object to the fact they said they were promised back when the debt reduction went off, that it would be off, and they would no longer be paying the debt reduction on their bill. And a couple of them have suggested that if we need this money, we should put it on the ballot like we did the street levy. So that's.
I went back through to the original proposal that we did in June when we changed how much when we were increasing our water and sewer. And we had agreed per the monthly bill layout at that time to increase stormwater to $5.25 in June of 24. It would be 25 cents through June of 23. And then the debt reduction would drop off completely in June of 24. But we did have a stormwater increase of $5.25. And then slowly it increases each year, $5.50, $5.75. This went through June of 29. This is what Dave sent us back in.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Yes, I understand where they're coming from, because it seemed to have told them, we didn't, but at the time that was passed, and we were told one thing and we're looking at doing another. And as I said last meeting, I totally understand why we need the money. I don't know if we should stick to our original proposal that Michelle just went through for right now and see how it goes. And then if we need to add more to it. And of course, I wasn't on the infrastructure committee that set in on that, and I respect everyone's feelings and thoughts on that. Again, I know we need it, but we might want to approach it in a different manner.
Yeah, and I think originally when I said, because everyone said that they wouldn't pay anymore, or I know what I said it would be anywhere from $5 to $6. Then with the rate increase, the $9.75, if you add the quarter, the $10 a wash. Furthermore, when it's Mills's idea, it could be my idea, but I work with a team of city council, with the law director, with Sherry, and anything that the mayor does has to be approved by city council. So I think there's some unawareness about how government works, but no matter what I propose, I have a team here who says, yes, we can do that, or no, we can't. And I appreciate the people who reached out to their council person. I got one email on it. I know the radio did a story on it, gave my office my direct line, and I have 0 phone calls on it. So, when it's just we're doing whatever we're doing and we're shoving it down people's throats or whatever, I encourage the public to get actively involved in the governmental process. I don't see a lot of public participation at council meetings. Our doors are open here 8 to 4 Monday through Thursday and 8 to noon on Friday. We have a website, I have a phone number, I have an email. I'm accessible if you have questions. I know you guys are accessible too. So I want to welcome the public to any meetings or just get involved.
I think since we are only doing the first reading tonight, our citizens are curious about what the proposal is, they need to show up at the next meeting before we give the second or third reading and.
Right.
their input.
Right.
I got 2 emails and a phone call. You and I got the one,
Yeah.
and then I got this one. Both of those guys, I called and talked to them. They both said they realized that we needed to do it. But it was the fact that it went from 25 cents to $10. I had a phone call from another guy, and this totally surprised me. He said, "Are you getting much flack over that?" And I said, "I've had very little, but you know, I'm getting some." He said, "I want to tell you, I support it 100%. Nothing's been done for a lot of years, and I think we need to do that." The 2 guys I talked to, I said, "It's just like me going and buying a house, living there 30 years, not doing anything to it. Sooner or later, I'm gonna have to pay."
Again, I know we need to do something. I just don't know if we need
But
to.
do we need to do it that drastic?
Yeah.
You
We
know,
need
I've
to
gotten a
take
few
half
phone
a step
calls
and
myself and
Well, I mean, it's either you do $10 now or you do $5.25 and raise it, and it's gonna be 10.
right,
So, I
right,
mean,
but
to me,
you know,
it's-
people
and I
feel
agree
that
with-
they get a,
Right.
you know,
Right.
I'm just telling you the phone calls I've gotten.
Right.
And you can sit there and shake your head at me all you
No, I'm
want,
not shaking my
Sherry,
head.
but
No, it's not.
I'm just
No,
saying.
Chad, no, it's not a
Well,
you. I don't understand the logic. when the-
I don't either, but I'm not the guy on the phone calling.
know,
I'm the
I
guy
know.
receiving the call.
I think if people would truly understand that instead of seeing stormwater 25 cents, their water, their trash, their sewage, debt reduction 975, 4 lines, they're now only gonna see 3,
Mhm.
or how many lines, they're only gonna see stormwater $10. It's basically take those other 2 lines and combine them into one. They're gonna be paying the exact same amount.
Sure, but the issue from the people I have talked to is not. It's the fact they were told that when this debt reduction was done, it would be off their bill, and it's not. It's not, it's just in a different,
It's gonna
It's
say
a sheet
something
in a
else.
different
I
outfit.
understand that. I
and that's what
understand
they're
that, but
opposed to. Because they feel like they were
It's been 20
misled.
years.
it's probably never ever been promised. That was always, was the goal that, hey, once we achieve enough money in there, we can stop that deduction. Yes, you can stop it. But there's ongoing other needs that we see that 25 cents. I know I'm preaching to the choir with you guys. That 25 cents only raises $22,000
Oh,
a
yeah.
year.
The joke.
And of that, $15,000 of it has to go to the stormwater management.
Well, I think
So
that,
that leaves you $7,000 a year
Mhm.
to fix all the, how
Right,
many
and that-
hundreds of catch basins?
The thing that I get frustrated with is, I get it. I don't, as a consumer, as a taxpayer, I don't wanna pay more either. But you can't watch your infrastructure crumble around you and say you don't wanna pay anymore, because like Jim said, if you have a house and you let it sit there for 30 years and you don't put a nickel in it, in 30 years, you're gonna put 100,000 into it to make it what it needs to be. So I agree, we don't wanna pay more. I agree with that, but if we don't do anything, everything's just gonna continue to crumble. Everyone wants something for free, and we can't continue to operate. No business, no school system, no government can continue to operate with issues, with neglect, with years of doing nothing to improve the infrastructure, and then say, well, 20 people out of 11,000 have said, we don't want to pay anymore, so we don't do anything. Because that's,
I just,
honestly, that's what we've done for decades.
I don't think the feedback I get, and I know you guys have jobs to do, I don't do your jobs, you guys know your jobs, is that we're giving it 1 reading tonight, and we're gonna finish it up in November, where when this was brought up back in June, we never talked about it again until you guys had that meeting. So they're thinking, that's the hijack stuff that they think that they're getting.
Right.
Because you guys have ideas, but you don't I mean, it doesn't seem like there's a plan until you actually need something from council, and then we feel rushed to do it, and I think that's what the taxpayers that you're talking about, that's what they see. And, you know, whether we sit here and
But,
agree or
yeah,
not,
and there's two sides of that story,
I
cause I
understand
can
that.
say no one was beating down my door to have a infrastructure meeting, committee meeting to solve that.
I'm not
after you
throwing
have the
blame.
Numbers,
I'm
right?
just saying we have to
No,
do a
that's
better
right.
job.
No, and I agree. We could always get better, yeah. Yeah.
But you know, I don't think anyone here disagrees that we need infrastructure.
But I don't think we're doing anything that's like,
We're not doing
because
anything that's
we
underhanded.
we can take this into next year if you want to take, you know, to me, I mean, but I don't want it to drop off a bill and then all of a sudden,
Now here we are.
here's
Right,
money,
right,
here's money
right.
back. So that's where, like, I think that's where the needs now, but essentially, if you wanna wait, I mean, I'll wait
I'm
until
not
we
saying
lock
we
it
need
in.
to wait. I'm
Right,
trying to
right,
get you to understand
Right.
what people have said to me.
right.
You know, I can look at it both ways. I can say Chestnut Street, that was a problem. All them people complained, well, we didn't have money because we weren't shovel ready, right?
Right.
For a grant.
Right.
But then we look at the water department. Why are we talking about it? Because we let the water department fall apart and we had to do
Right.
something
Right.
to bring it back up to code. So here, you know,
Right.
so there's two sides to every story, but you know,
No, right.
it's just.
No, and I think we're approaching, I don't think from the outside looking in, I don't think anyone's trying to like I said, we can take our time and as much time as anyone wants, but yeah, we probably could have met a lot sooner. I mean, from the
Alex,
outside, it
is
kind
there
of
an
looks like
EPA mandate involved with this?
Farm for a permit. We send in a permit, we're permitted every year. We have an NPDES, just like, you know, any business around here would have. And then we have to we monitor our outfalls, how much water we put out to the river, what kind of shape our infrastructure's in. I mean, I can get you guys the book. Name that we wrote.
So do we know how old our lines are in town? Most of our water lines and.
very, very old.
Right.
You know, you have water lines that's anywhere from probably, whenever they put city water in, it's probably the very late 1800s, early 1900s, up till probably the newest lines are in the 70s.
So, you know, I think that's what the public needs to
I
hear.
mean, when was your house built? 70, Roger?
63.
So,
Yeah.
the same water line that was.
And I think that's something that we need to see.
Right.
That's when, you know, I bring up us having a plan. I know Tom's mentioned several times. You know, let's break our city down. Where are the oldest infrastructure needs?
This. I mean, it's easy
And
to
show,
see
you know, be able to show on a map,
how
okay,
it's
here's where it's the oldest. Here's our timeline on getting those fixed, replaced, and, you know, I'll go back to the aggregate situation. We talked about that, I don't know, 4 months ago, but nothing come out publicly until you were on the radio with that gentleman. And that, I bet there was, I don't know how many people had already voted in early voting, but we just need to educate our public before we introduce whatever. And again, I'm 100% behind doing something. I just don't know if we should jump at $10, if we should maybe go halfway, study it, and if we need the other half, let's do it.
Can I
That's
speak
just
to
me.
that just for a minute?
Yeah.
And the way we arrived at the $10, that is basically where Zanesville's at today. I have a chart in there from 2018 listing where the rates was in all our neighboring communities. You know, we'll be that much further just based on inflation. I got a number today for just a sidewalk on Second Street, how much it costs, you know, blade out of the water. And I think the project of putting storm sewers into Second Street, which needs it drastically, and you're probably talking several $1 million just to put storm sewer in. You know, and I think the $10 brings in what, roughly $660 a year, Sharon?
I'm sorry.
660,000 a year roughly, the $10, is that what we figured?
Oh, yes.
So, you know, you're even gonna have to let money build up to do any
Yeah.
big projects. Now, one good thing about that money will help you is when we go out, if we get like the PWC type loans, you know, where responsible for some matching funds. That will give us, we've never had any money before. That's why we haven't went after any of those type of funds, just because we can't match the grant money, so.
Now, can I ask another question? Can any of this money be used to hire? You know, we say we only have 6 people. Okay, now we got all this money. Now, are we gonna be able to employ the people to do the work?
Most of these jobs will be contract type
Okay,
jobs.
all right.
Maybe
For the
engineer type of
Okay.
contract jobs. We
Thank
don't,
you.
we don't have that type of equipment.
Right,
We,
okay.
we may have a person who, that's kind of their specialty, that works for our department, who would work in conjunction.
Like an overseer or
yeah,
something, yeah.
Who would actually work with that whatever contractor, you know, that could actually go and like be the point person for that type of work.
How we identify catch basins that need repaired and where we need curbing and all that, so to show the public.
I don't have a list of curbing, but there isn't hardly a street in town that you can repair all the curbs on. Just like, why we just done Chestnut Street, all that curbing come out and needs put back in. You're probably 30, 40, 50,000 just for that one block. If you look at our curbs, you know, you'll see ones that's probably got an inch of clearance where the road's been overlaid so many times, so even when you mill them and put it back, you still got a couple inches of curbing, so.
I keep thinking about, was it 2 years ago in West Lafayette, when that storm drain failed and all those houses were flooded and the basements collapsed and.
How many catch basins are in the city, roughly?
Oh, there's probably
Thousands.
1,000.
Yeah, there's over 1,000.
There's 8 outfalls, I believe, to the river that we have to monitor.
I mean, all you have to do is drive around, walk around, and especially if you're out walking on
Yeah,
the
I
streets,
mean,
you'll see, all of a sudden, you'll see like a pile of something, then you realize, oh, wait a minute, that's a catch basin buried underneath there, you know, and just collapsed.
I think that the challenge for me is that in 2022, when we chose to increase everything, we said that the debt reduction would be absorbed in that increase. So I felt better about saying yes to the increase. So had the stormwater been presented as, this is what we need, this is why we need it, this is how much we should charge separate from everything else, it would have been much clearer and easier for me to start from that point going forward versus going backwards and trying to figure out and making sure that we're upfront
Well,
with
and-
everybody.
right,
Having
and-
said that,
Right, and I think,
do see the
so
need.
at that time when we increased rates, it was ballpark 550, I wanna say was a normal increase.
Mhm.
With the stormwater utility, 5.25, you're basically you're $10. So you're at a wash at that point. If the stormwater's,
I do understand.
right,
I
if the
just-
stormwater's
the way things are
$10,
presented
it's $4.75 to $5 is
Yeah.
what the actual increase is. No, and I agree with you. It was presented, but then once we met, it was more of a consensus of, do you want to start here and raise it every year, or do you just want to come out and here's what everyone's paying $10 now. Do you want to make that the dollar amount? And that's what was agreed upon in committee. So, and once again, I agree with everyone. Let's listen to input and work together and figure it out.
Well, I think one good thing is we're doing the first reading tonight, so they have a chance tonight, then they'll have a chance on the 13th to come in.
And I understand, they said they were told, 20 years ago that was gonna come off. I feel like we're in a way different place than we were probably 20 years ago with the cost of materials, just everything is different.
So that
So-
it impacts their household too, because everything is up. Now we're asking, I know it's $10 a month, but some people that's,
$10.
But yeah,
some people that's like a lot.
You wanna talk
They're
about
already paying
inflation?
$10.
When I come into this, the figures I was given around water and sewer lines was $200 a foot for city water lines, $180 a foot for city sewer. The new price to run a city water line, like up around Chestnuts, $500 a foot.
So what's
More
that, 6
than double.
years, 6 years?
Yeah.
6, 7 years.
You know, if we want our town to grow, you know, we do need to do something. I agree. We do need to do something.
I did get a figure from Dave Kagrai the other day that we are at, and this would be based on PA figures and RCAP, which is our water people that do our consulting. We are at 78% of what we should be charging for water based on what our median household income is. So we still are below what we should be charging for water.
At some time, I would still like to see a plan. I keep bringing it up, but here's what we need, here's where we need it, here's what it's gonna cost. You know, if you could tell us $500 a foot for a water line, okay, how many square feet or whatever water lines do we need? Where, how much is that gonna cost? So there's an actual plan, and we're gonna look at this area of town first. This is our hope that we can start it on January 1 of whatever. And concluded in July. We're gonna start Wayne Vista, July 2nd, you know. I like to just see, and I know
That's
plans
what we're
change,
doing.
but
Right.
For
I know
water
with-
lines or
with-
catch basins?
whatever we need, if some type, whatever the infrastructure needs are, it's just, you know, with schools, we have yearly plans, we have 3-year plans, we have to have 5-year plans, and we all know those plans are gonna change, but at least we have a roadmap to go on. And I know we have work orders, but I'd like to see a plan, a
I liked
roadmap.
how,
We're gonna start here, we're gonna end up here, and this is what's gonna cost.
like how we prioritize the, how
Fire
Dave did that, fire hydrants, yeah, like which ones were more, you know.
I mean,
and
you could
levels
really,
for each.
anywhere on this side of town where, like Max said, they're 100, all the lines are 120 years old,
Yeah,
so.
it's almost impossible to prioritize. How do you know,
that-
you know,
That's the
if you
thing,
just put part of the Chestnut Street in or whatever,
Right.
how do you know that that's not gonna, you just can't, I mean, it'd be very, very difficult. I can't imagine how you'd even begin to
it
say,
really,
okay, we gotta do this section first, this section. How are you gonna do that in
Yeah, but like the
a town that has, you know, it's 120 years old? Especially, you know, probably the water came from the old hydro plant before the water department was in, so you're talking, come through Roscoe, actually.
Yeah. the other-
Across the river, you know, big pipe
really,
across the river.
really essentially water is like stormwater, is like sewer. You can start pretty much anywhere. I mean, the oldest is in this section of town, but essentially even where, you know, the Stewart edition is, Buena Vista, every newer edition was 60 to, it's 1960, 1970,
I know we
so,
have the
and.
mine problem up in that area.
Yeah, so when you look at it, even the newest piping is 70 years old. So I mean, that's where, I know it seems like yesterday, them 70s are out there. But essentially, you can
The new high school.
start anywhere. Yeah, the new high school, yeah. You could start anywhere. So, I mean, with that,
I'll throw one
it's
more,
measuring off a street and saying, here's how much,
one more of my usual complaints. If we start fixing curbs and storm drains, et cetera, we need to make sure Kimball's not running their big trucks over and tearing it up.
well, see, that's the thing with the newer, when you put a box in, when you put a precast box in,
Choice there.
it's, they can run over it and it's not old brick and mortar just going, so there's or a covered, that's another thing that you will notice. We have every style of catch basin in Coshocton, Ohio. There's no standard. There never was. We have every style that anyone could ever imagine. So now it's precast box set in the ground, poured around so trucks can go over it and it's not cracking, breaking. So we've come a long way.
Good discussion.
Anybody else? Anybody have any ordinances for the next meeting?
I will. Additional appropriations, 27,500, for a one capital improvement. That is to, capital improvement, city hall equipment. We have to upgrade our server. So, it's several years old now, so, it's come to the time that we need to get that upgraded. 701 water, $121,424. It's for the water, I'm creating a new line, Water Chestnut Street Engineering. I'll also be establish a new revenue line from that, because that is money that we are borrowing from OWDA. So the money will come in and then we'll have to pay out for the engineering fees. And then municipal court has requested additional appropriations of $5,000 for their probation line. So those, I will have, several different transfers, kind of cleaning up some stuff again for year end. But working on the 2024 appropriations, I didn't get all the way through and get my list all typed up and still looking through some items. So I'll just email those to you, but those will all just be transfers. I have that, and then we'll have, House Bill 33 amended some language for the ORC, that was passed and signed by Governor DeWine, all pertaining to, income tax, our codified codes. A couple highlights, and I can just go ahead and send you all this because it's several pages long. I'll highlight it in yellow. One of the top things off the write-off is exempt income, for tax year 2024. So tax year 2024, income of individuals under the age of 18 will be exempt from filing city tax returns. So now, if they worked in 2023, come in 2024, they'll still have to file that. That's a new change for 2024. So, your high schooler, will no longer have to, file a tax return. There's changes on net profit, income tax, subject to net profit tax. Several changes with that. Extension time, for tax year ending on or after January 1st, 2023. The extended due date of the city of Coshocton's income tax return for a taxpayer that is not an individual shall be the 15th day of the 11th month after the last day of the taxable year to which the return relates. Figure that date out.
What's that day?
I know, right? And, penalties, interest and, charges. If I'm following this correctly, we used to be able to, charge $25 for, per month, for late filing fees up to shall not exceed $150. It looks now that it's just, they've capped it at $25 for a late fee. So we'll get those, Bob will get the codified ordinance all changed with that information, get it to
before the end of the year. Correct?
be passed before the end of the year, so.
Whether or not we have those available for the next meeting is.
Yeah, to be on the agenda for,
December anyhow, right?
yeah, to be on the agenda for the 13th. And then if you want me to go over the 2024 appropriations.
Does anybody else have any?
I want sometime, with the ordinance committee, want to meet and talk about zoning, the M1, the M1 zoning right now, manufacturing one says you cannot build residential. We have some areas, I know we've talked about one area, another area that I think Edmont would be M1. So once Edmont's finally to the ground, which it can't be soon enough, but it is, at some point there will be funding. It's zoned M1, so it basically says you can't put a residence on an M1. So, I want to meet and figure out what we can do so we can actually build houses if we tear or something zoned M1. Is there any way to do it without a planning and zoning hearing and then bringing it to
The
council?
easiest way is simply change it from M1 to an R1, 2, or 3. but otherwise, any property that's zoned M1, somebody could put residential housing there. Whereas if we just took a look at each M1 site and determined whether or not residential housing would be appropriate for that site, that would be the easier way to do it, for the more sensible.
So then council could just make, without changing the ordinance, council could make a decision on,
Just change the zoning of
Right, okay.
individual properties.
okay, so which way do you recommend?
Well, again, I'm trying to imagine an M1 site in the city that would not be appropriate for residential housing. I'm not saying there is or isn't, but if you just change our ordinance for M1 housing and allow residential, then all M1 zone properties can have houses on them.
Right, okay.
And I don't know if that's a good or bad thing.
Can you restrict what kind of housing?
Well, you can make it, restricted to whatever our R1 code says, or R2 or R3.
Gotcha.
Those are fairly broad as to what can go in those.
Well, and R1's pretty restrictive, so if you made it a lot R1, then I think it would be an advantage to, like, if you were worried about anything, huge apartment complexes or things that you don't want built on M1 sites, then R1's the way to go.
And if you're happy with the restrictions of the R1, we could make the M1 zoning allow R1 housing, but not R2 or R3,
So it's just a matter of rewriting the M1 zoning.
if that's what you want to do. And again, I don't know how many M1.
It wouldn't bug me. Actually, we need to sit down and look at the whole map, because there are areas where, like, that's allowed there. Like, there's like just different places around town
That
that,
would read if we went that direction.
If you change the M1 zoning to allow,
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, yes.
so I have something to look at.
I have a question. So if they tear Edmonds down, will they do like a core sample, a core study of the ground?
yeah, there's a
in that?
phase 2 environmental done
Okay.
right now. So it'll have to be, if you receive any funding, and even if you don't receive funding, you have to do environmental studies. So I believe that the phase 2 is complete. Is phase 2 complete? Yeah. So, yeah, it'll be looked at.
So when do you want to do that?
I don't know, 6
Bob can get
a.m.
us some
tomorrow.
language and we can look at it. If Bobby can get us some language and.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think
We'll go
it's,
from there.
I wouldn't mind going citywide and looking at the whole, it needs to be looked at, and everyone needs to look at it, because it's wonky how, it's just that we built manufacturing and then we built residential around it. So that's why, in most of those areas, you had factories in the middle of neighborhoods, and that's where everyone worked. So, we just need to figure out how we don't create hurdles to not develop it, if the space is there, and develop it responsibly. So when you want to meet, Tom? 6 a.m. tomorrow?
About, I have to almost be done with my walk.
Okay, that's perfect
6:30,
timing. I'll
yeah.
still, okay. 6:30. No, I'll send down the email and we'll get.
You got vetoed, Max said no.
He said no, 6:30 a.m.
I'll be.
Max will meet with you. I'll still be in bed. That's the only ordinance type thing that I'm gonna need, or I think we should talk about.
Sure.
I think it's a good idea.
Max, you have anything? Any ordinances?
No ordinances, the one that I've, sent you and Amy, I don't think we're going to need one for that Roscoe money.
Okay.
We did get Sherry, if I could get, Sherry and Bob afterwards, if we can sign that paper, I get that back to her in the morning. We got our approval on our plan and everything. Just update safe routes, schools, Megan's agreed to sign on to assist us with that, but update that plan.
Do I need to do anything with that? There was a link on there.
There's a survey that needs copied off and sent to all the parents in the school district. I would assume the school will take care of that part of it.
Can we put that on the website?
Yeah. So with the Mega's help, we'll get something in.
We need 100% participation.
And we'll send it out through text and all that.
And that money's left at 500,000 a year, so. ODOT's pretty excited, and so is the Mega. They said that's right there, wheelhouse.
Make hard copies of someone on.
We're about 50% complete with the Roscoe sidewalks. I don't know if you guys looked at it, what they're doing. It's pretty good, the replacement over there. There's a couple that we're out to.
There's railroad ties still.
Yeah.
screwed up. I mean, if I was a business downtown, they would have to fix it.
Roscoe said they would assist on the railroad tie part of it. That wasn't those guys' scope, but, when we done our pre-construction walkthrough,
Right,
Chad seemed to think that we had a few left over from, when we done the curbing last year, so.
I'm just trying to look at another big meeting with things that could be taken care of.
Yeah. But, I'm sure when they get through the festivals and everything, I'll make them a good winter project. Been in contact with the Mega also, for, continuing our sidewalk where we left it off on Brown's Lane last year, that we got the CDBG money. Looks like that's a good project for what they call TAP funding. So I actually got a, let's say, 10,000 foot engineering estimate for that project, which is about $550,000 to run from there to the Dollar General. And then there's actually sidewalk from them onto Main Street. So we would have
That way we at, yeah.
the,
That would be awful nice for citizens to be able to walk down through there and.
Yeah.
that
not
new sidewalk
the
getting a
street.
lot
Not
of
the street.
traffic, especially with the buggies and everything, so. That'll be submitted for 2024 TAP funds. Got that in, we really moved quickly on that one, so. Mega's assisting with that as well. And then, of course, we've been doing alley paving, with our guys we started out with a paver, small little paver that had a few issues. So we went and used our drop box, which is what the county uses on their roads. And the guys are getting fairly decent at it, so that's been good. And of course, leaf pickups beginning, so today wasn't a good day for leaf pickup, but what we're asking for is, you know, I read Facebook like everybody else and I get a schedule. Well, we've tried schedules and nobody knows when the leaves are gonna fall, when it's gonna rain, when you're gonna rake them.
When it's gonna snow.
We have a great leaf truck that requires one guy. It's where we used to tie up 6 people doing that. Call Angie. If your leaves are ready, call him. Tony goes out, 2 seconds, picks them up.
Yeah, it's
He
one
drives-
guy now.
He drives around this time of year with the leaf truck, sees a pile, picks them up. If you guys see a pile, call me, call Angie, text me, we'll get them out there. There was one the other day, I knew the rain was coming, a big pile of 15th and High. Yeah, 15th and High, right by catch basin. It was 2 o'clock, called Tony, boom, gone, so.
Yeah, and I think the residents need to understand that I like leaves and decomposition, but we don't leave them lay because they once again get in the storm sewer, so we have to pick them up. Like, I see a lot of comments that just leave them alone. Well, yeah, okay.
Sherry, you wanna go over your budget? Please.
All right, 2024 appropriations, you have drafts there. I did highlight a couple that, they're on the first page, that you guys usually have your input on, community band and, donation to our town. So starting at the top, $500,000 towards the sheriff's contract. We have fire,
salaries that the general fund helps with, along with the employee insurance, some street lighting. The only thing that we have regarding health is the annual contract of $150,000. Going into cemetery, the largest item there, is really request of cemetery capital improvement, because if anybody has been down at South Lawn, it's in desperate need of road repairs, street repairs, in South Lawn Cemetery. Roscoe was paved a few years ago. We have some additional other monies that we can help with, that come in through the hoop, fund, thank you, that can help with Roscoe. So cemetery, recreation, you have, on down into, civil service, a little bit of incidentals that we have there, property maintenance. That's where we have had the past couple of years, the $50,000 appropriated for property maintenance, any demos or anything like that, that might come about. Our annual contract for the sealers, weights and measures, you have mayor, general admin, council, down into, municipal court, starting there at the bottom, continues on page 2. Almost clear to the bottom of, page 2, you'll see out the side, $5,495,000. Right now, that's where, the appropriations for the general fund. That's what those total with everything that goes into the general fund, municipal board, auditors, treasurer, city hall, law director, income tax. Then you have a few, municipal court, their funds, the indigent, and their computer expense fund, the special projects fund, and probation fund. Lodging, as you know, comes in, we keep, 10%, and 90 goes to back to the bureau. Fire, their salaries, on down onto the next page, fire, $1,669,500. Our retirement payouts, by ordinance, that fund can collect $75,000 a year, through income tax, so I just set the appropriations at 75, because I never know who's gonna retire. Safety, security, law enforcement, that's what we have appropriated there. Out of those funds, $1,855,000 for the sheriff's contract, the, property liaison, and just a little bit of security services of $10,000 if we want to do, and if we need to do any camera upgrades or anything around the city. The stormwater fund, I just left it kind of right where it's at, not knowing what you're gonna do. For 2024, I was able to increase the appropriations there a little bit, because we received, it was 20,000 some odd dollars. There was an insurance settlement. There was a company that damaged some catch basins and so forth, so their insurance company paid. So we'll have a little bit more that we can work with. Down to street, $1,849,000. Perpetual care, that's just interest that we earn on our cemetery and endowment CDs. Your 7.5 state route paving brings in about $50,000 a year. CDBG, MBL brings in about $95,000 a year, so just appropriate that. We'll always use towards paving. Our street levy funding, it's estimated to bring in $429,917, so I always just appropriate what they estimate, excuse me. Capital improvement, paving, traffic lights, miscellaneous city hall equipment, parks, $405,000. Fire capital improvement, Rusty had requested $500,000. Our water debt reduction, that's just the 2 payments for next year, $682,907. And then it starts into water. Goes on down through, a couple highlights there. Excuse me. Water capital improvement, fire hydrants. I left it blank because I'm not quite sure. That's still carried forward from when we were using ARPA funding last year and some this year. I need to see where Dave is at with that. There's a blanket purchase order, so, if it gets all taken care of, that will remain at zero. If he still has a little bit left, we'll go with that. And same with the meter project. That's like 2.6 or $2.4 million is the total project. There's still 1,887,000 to draw down from the loan. So I just started it at 725. I don't know how much he's gonna continue with it through, if it'll all get done in, 24, if it'll continue into 2025. I just don't know. So, that's where we started it at for, 2023. We haven't used very, much of that, to date. So just a starting point with it. Then it goes into your sewage fund, 2,724,000, sewage contingency, our solid waste, that's our trash contract that we pay, and some admin fees that we can, pull from that go to the general fund. A little bit of appropriations out of the 708, West Lafayette Water Fund, fire pension, that comes from property tax, 60,792, state patrol, so any state patrol tickets that are issued here, in the county or in the city. And there's our insurance escrow 805. So that's, 2,302,000. Coshocton Recreation, we still have 19,000 sitting in that fund, so I just appropriated the amount, backert. That's some interest that we can spend. Roscoe Perpetual Care, again, that's the money that I had talked about for the hoop, the interest that comes in a trust. The trust is not held with us, we just get the interest. And then your 2 JEDs, and then the Westloff Sewer contract and Westloff Sewer admin, that's where we simply just are the billing agent for the village of West Lafayette to their sewer customers. And then a little in unclaimed funds. It's probably the fastest I've ever gone through.
So the estimated, tax. Remember which one you said, well, anyways, how close do we come to actually receiving the estimated amount when they do the collection?
On,
There was one.
the street levy,
Yeah, 429,917.
sometimes, we come pretty close. They have a pretty good record right now. The treasurer's office of collection, I think they're in the 90%. That is actually down from last year, so I'm not sure, why it was less. I don't know if valuations changed. That's just, I get it from the county and that's what we certified. So we never get the full amount.
I just have to know if the part of our proceeds from our taxes are usually less than what.
Yeah. But I'm allowing for if there's a little bit of a carry forward, we usually try to keep, about $50,000 to $75,000 cash to get through the winter months of buying asphalt and, to fill potholes and so forth, and material that the street department might need.
Sherry, what's the, you have fire salaries, the second thing on your list,
Mhm.
and then on the back page, it says fire salaries again. At a higher amount. What's the difference between those two?
So on page 2, where it says fire salary is 1,110,000.
Yeah.
So we have the fire fund, which, we have the 0.5%.
Right.
That was passed years ago. But that money does not fully support the fire department.
Okay.
So this is just what the general fund
Okay, the
helps
general fund
support.
supports this part and then that kicks in, okay,
Yep.
gotcha.
The general fund pays the employee insurance.
Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha,
The general fund pays the employee insurance
okay,
and just a little bit of the salaries, $300,000 of the salaries. But that's the biggest bulk that we pick up is for the insurance to help, because it's not self-supporting yet.
right. Thank you.
Yeah, good question. So, this is a draft, so we'll have Amy have the appropriation on there. And then obviously there'll be salaries that we'll need to look at for elected officials. they're studying there at, this year's rate. So that will have to be determined. So, there's some figures there that can change. And then you'll have to let me know what if you still want the 2,500 in there for the art or for the community band. And if you want to continue to support, $20,000 for, our town Coshocton. So, but yeah, it can just take, you have plenty of time for it to be on there and then for it to take 3 readings,
It's gonna be done
just by the end of,
end of December, correct?
yeah, so you'll have 3 readings, 2 in November, 1 in December.
Yep.
It can just take its course and let me know
Gotcha.
what your thoughts are.
Anybody else?
Well, the only thing we are passing tonight is 5123.
Yep.
Get ready, get ready.
Yeah, he'll be right.
I'm clerking tonight.
He's clerk. Don't be throwing them off.
Take about 7, 8 minutes, 7, 10 minutes, meeting time.
This other one on Wednesday was positive
2023 at 6:46, it's a regular scheduled Coshocton City Council meeting. Everybody had a great weekend. Call the roll, please.
Andrews.
Here.
Barcroft.
Here.
Gross.
Here.
Johnson.
Here.
Price. Here. Moore. Here. Turner.
Here.
Please stand for the pledge, please stand for the invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. One nation.
Father God, we thank you for the opportunity again. Pray that you would bless our time together. And I pray this in your name.
Counselor emailed the minutes from the October 16th council meeting. Any questions or comments? If not, I need a motion to accept the minutes from the October.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Johnson, Andrews, call the roll.
Andrews.
Yes.
Barcroft.
Yes.
Gross.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Price.
Yes.
Moore, yes. Turner.
Yes.
Any public wanna present yourself up here? We good? Okay. Okay. Okay, mayor's report. I know you've been chomping at the
I
bit.
know you wouldn't even let me talk and commit.
Well,
Actually,
Max,
Max
Max,
stole like
we're supposed to be talking about ordinances, not all this project.
Right, I think he's got too much going on. I do want to say trick or treat, was a success, saw a lot of people out. It was a very, very good time. I'm glad I didn't make trick or treat tomorrow because it's gonna snow. So for all the people that said, why don't we do it on Halloween day? Cause I knew it was gonna snow. Also want to bring up, BPW cake auction is this Saturday, 12 to 4 at Frontier Power Community Room. Look forward to seeing all the healthy cakes down there and supporting the BPW. Just want to invite the public to that. And if anyone has any questions, I'll answer them. Yeah, that was quick, wasn't it?
Max, you have anything to add?
I don't have anything to add to what we discussed.
Bob, you have anything for
I
us?
have nothing tonight.
Thank you. Sherry, you have anything to add?
No, we do not.
Okay. Sheriff Crawford, you guys were just handed hot off the press, the sheriff's report. Don't get the ink on your fingers. Anything to add, sir?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Deputy Sheriff, you have anything for us?
No, sir.
Okay. Going into legislation. Yeah, boss?
Yep.
Okay, first reading. Ask the clerk to give the first reading of ordinance 5123.
Appropriations.
For the first reading of ordinance 5123, any questions or comments?
Make a motion to suspend the rules and go to a third reading.
Second. Call the roll.
Andrews.
Yes.
Barcroft.
Yes.
Gross.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Price. Yes. Moore, yes. Turner.
Yes.
Okay, give the third reading of ordinance 5123.
Appropriation.
Questions or comments? The question is, should ordinance 5123 pass? Call the roll, please.
Andrews.
Yes.
Barcroft.
Yes.
Gross.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Price.
Yes.
Moore, yes. Turner.
Yes.
Okay, ordinance 5123 is passed. Ask the clerk to give the first reading of ordinance 5223.
In order to amend chapter 935.06 billing cycle.
For the first reading of ordinance 5223, any questions or comments? Ordinance 5223 will take its course. Ask clerk to give the first reading of ordinance 5323.
In order to amending the stormwater utility section establishing stormwater rates for single and multi-family dwelling, commercial business properties, and industrial properties.
For the first reading of ordinance 5323, questions or comments? If not, ordinance 5323 will take its course. Ask clerk to give the first reading of ordinance 5423.
Which I just read. Back up to 52 or 5323.
Yeah, let's go back to 5323.
Not bad.
That's okay.
Ready. In order to amend chapter 935.07 billing and payments.
Now, you've heard the first read of ordinance 5323. Any questions or comments? If not, 5323 will run its course.
5423, ordinance amending the stormwater utility section establishing the stormwater rates for single and multi-family dwelling, commercial business properties, and industrial property.
Heard the first read of ordinance 5423. Any questions or comments? If not, ordinance 5423 will run its course. Give the reading of 5523.
In order to amend exhibit 3 was set forth the water and sewer rates for Coshocton City Code.
For the first read of ordinance 5523, any questions or comments? If not, ordinance 5523 will run its course. First reading of ordinance 5623, please.
An ordinance authorizing the service director to enter into an agreement to extend the lease with the Coshocton Alternative School for the leasing of the former armory buildings in Maine.
For the first reading of ordinance 5623, questions or comments? Not 5623 will take its course. Okay, nothing in second. No resolutions, new business. Think we have any other communications? See, our next meeting, you are encouraged to, anybody who wants to question the ordinances concerning the stormwater, should be here. And our next meeting, our committee meeting will be at 5:45 on November 13th. Council will start immediately after. Need a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Call the roll.
Andrews.
Yes.
Barcroft.
Yes.
Gross.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Price.
Yes.
Moore. Yes. Turner.
Yes.
House done.